May Jesus be praised and onward with Mary. Good and holy day to all of you, dear children, in the sacred hearts of Jesus and in the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Welcome back, dear listeners, to our delightful morning segment, Saints and Coffee. Today is Tuesday, the 11th of March. We are in the first week of Lent, the week in which we reference to the temptations of Jesus in the desert. And so we once again take the teaching that Holy Mother Church addresses to us, that we are in a struggle against the devil who unfortunately dwells. Rome, the confusion that reigns in this phase. Here, it has never been seen like this. A Bergoglio who has not clearly understood what happens if he leaves the hospital and now seems out of danger, governs or does not govern, who governs in his place, what he intends to do, survives. But does he survive by resigning, or does he survive wanting to command from Santa Marta so that he is no longer even seen around? And he does what he has always liked, commanding without wasting time. With this hassle of rituals and various celebrations. Or he resigns and then another pope emerges. But which pope? Why are the 𝐸𝐸𝐴𝐻 all there celebrating? Yesterday, I read an article that was simply surreal, suggesting that it would be Cardinal Burke, who is now highly regarded. Imagine that, the church would suddenly shift. I don't know, I'm just glad it exists. The little remnant, it would shift. All of a sudden the church would shift from Bergoglio to Burke. I don't know, I really don't. There's something that generally doesn't add up here, and it is that Rome has become the seat of the Antichrist, that the Catholic Church survives only where the faith has been. Preserved and openly guarded. I say this because today I have to give you the news that will affect Celestino, who was the only one inexplicably exempt from sanctions until now. Apart from the suspension of Avinis, he has been served with a decree that we will now discuss. Of the Bishop of Patti, to whose diocesan territory Cersino belonged among Celestino 𝐒𝐽 the Bishop 𝐒𝐽 All right, in just a moment, we'll be on our way. So we are in the fight against the devil, because fighting against heresies, against apostasy, from whoever it comes, means fighting against the devil. The devil leads souls to hell, far from God, either through moral depravity or through confusion and doctrinal error. There is no doubt from this point of view. So one must be vigilant. And the small remnant, the Madonna, in the prophecies that the popes, saints, and mystics have announced, must be this watered garden, where at the echo of the Hail Mary, the faithful who do not want to bow to the current heresy resist and move forward under the gaze of God. And naturally, the condemnations that we keep accumulating should make everyone reflect, yet there is a general silence. This is incredible. It is incredible to see how the priests of the sodality Sudorодal Maria sodality excommunications, condemnations, reductions to the lay state, suspensions, adivinus, legal persecutions, due to an invalid and absolutist wielding in the execution of the Code of Canon Law. And everyone is silent, and everyone is silent. I get why they avoid Don Minutella, up to a certain point, but that they do not want to now report about a barefoot friar who has lived the rule in a radical way for a lifetime, while we know that the Franciscans have given us scandalous displays of ostentation in recent years, is condemned and everyone remains silent about it. This should, once again, prompt reflection on what the situation in the church is today. If not, we'll return to it in a moment. So today is Tuesday. Yesterday evening, there was the update from Don Ramon. You can always find it available in the Radio Domina Nostra playlist. For those who couldn't follow it, today Tuesday, I remind you of the appointment with the Gospel of John. Tuesday John from my book, which I find interesting. I'm already working on the second volume, there it is. The first volume, titled The Eagle and the Sun, is available by calling the office of Radio Domina Nostra, or by obtaining it at the prayer meetings we hold around Italy. Tonight is the 9th episode on the prologue. We are about to finish these 18 verses, which are the overture of the Gospel of John, but a parva summa, a small sum, a general compendium of of the gospel, and I would even say of the entire biblical revelation. Revelation, I just remember it like that, because Bergoglio's false church ended up completely burying and relativizing it. If one comes to relativize the word of God, dear children, tell me if that is not the sign of apostasy. But apparently, no one has noticed it, only we priests of the fellowship openly to help people come out. Here, so this evening there is this catechesis. I don't know if the post has been shown. There it is. Share, share, share. Don't miss this series of catecheses. I thank those who are following them, and then tell me they really find them like a breath to strengthen their Christian faith. Yes, because the prologue speaks of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, Logos, eternally equal to the Father, who becomes flesh. So we are at the central message of our Christian faith. So don't miss this appointment tonight at 9 o'clock. And then I remind you of the next moments of grace that we will experience. There are 3 this week. Day after tomorrow, Thursday the 13th, is the day dedicated to the Rosary for Russia. We will be in Bergamo at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the San Sisto Auditorium. We will recite the Holy Rosary, and with an additional feature, we will expose the Blessed Sacrament before the Mass. So come early. At 1600 hours, the Holy Rosary will be prayed in front of the Blessed Sacrament. We need to intensify our prayers. I remind you that there is the perpetual rosary, and a helping hand is needed, because otherwise it will be interrupted, which would be a bad sign. There are some faithful of the small remnant who do not want to make sacrifices, who do not want to expose themselves too much, who want to live a comfortable faith. To these children I recommend, apply elbow grease. So please, a request I make to you, I wouldn't want the Madonna to be upset. Contact Simona to help her better organize the rosary schedule. Perpetual from all over Italy so as not to interrupt it. It would be extremely unpleasant to have to interrupt it. So on Thursday, we will meet at the San Sisto Auditorium at 4 o'clock in Bergamo to pray before Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, the Most Holy Rosary for Russia, for the consecration of Russia, with the ways, times, and manners that God establishes. Naturally, entry is free, and there is no need for a reservation. I await you. Don't miss it. Even from neighboring regions, from surrounding places, it is Lent. It is a time for prayer. It is a time for sacrifice. It is a time to turn off the TV, the social media, and to intensify prayer. But what better opportunity on Thursday after, tomorrow in Bergamo? So I expect you, don't miss it. And then the weekend, next Saturday, the 15th of March, we are in Genoa. It's always lovely to return with the faithful remnant of Liguria. I mentioned yesterday that many have been there since the start. And so it is beautiful to see that even if they are not many, these brothers and sisters of the first hour endure. And then they are always so affectionate with yours truly. It is truly always a great joy for me to return to Genoa. Saturday at 4 o'clock, we are in Genoa at the Hotel Mercure, 1 Torzu in San Biagio, at 4 o'clock with the Rosary. The Holy Mass, a moment of adoration. Finally, the next appointment, then we will announce the others gradually. In Bologna next Sunday, the second Sunday of Lent, we are at the Hotel Amat Design. Design on Via Rigosa, Zola Perdosa, Bologna at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the second Sunday of Lent. See you with the faithful of the small remnant of Emilia-Romagna. However, naturally, the most important cult appointment remains that of Wednesday, the 19th of March, the coming week, and the solemnity of St. Joseph Father's Day. It is a moment of celebration. I know that many will not be able to come because it's a working day, but even if many will not be able to come, however, as happened on Ash Wednesday, always there in Verona, why will we be in Verona? For St. Joseph, the hall fills up. It is an extraordinary thing. It is a beautiful thing to see the room fill up. And as happened on Sunday in Turin, it fills not only with people of a certain age, but with families, young people. There are children. There are many men. These are truly moments of grace that reward martyrdom, because this is what we priests of the sodality are subjecting ourselves to. At the sidelines, we will now make a series of concluding remarks regarding the upcoming condemnation of Brother Celestino, which we will discuss in a few moments. This meeting includes, even on a weekday, the blessing of the fathers. I said it will be at 4 p.m. there at the Montresor Hotel Tower on Mantegna Street in Busalengo. But indeed, we are waiting for you for the Mass for those who cannot arrive by 4 p.m. in such a way that during the Mass we bless the fathers, the workers, we present the scapular of the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph, which is quite an unusual thing, about which I might speak again in the coming days. And finally, we will distribute the bread. We will distribute the bread of Saint Joseph so that you can take it and have it with you, bringing it home and eating it with your family. Here, this is the appointment that awaits us next Wednesday for the Solemnity of Saint Joseph. The other appointments will follow. I will tell you about them, but since I made a bit of a mess yesterday, I want to quickly reiterate, and then we will finally move on to today's episode. What are the other appointments that await us? Saturday, the 22nd of March in 𝐕𝐼𝐺 in the province of Ancona in the Marche region, where we haven't been for a while. Sunday, the 23rd of March in Tuscany in Lucca at the Grand Hotel 𝐵uinigi. Tuesday, the 25th of March, and the Solemnity of the Annunciation of the Lord, Mary's Fiat and the Hail Mary. The Fiat, therefore, is truly the central highlight of our Christian faith. And then we will be in Terni at the Hotel Michelangelo Palace, and on that occasion, if there are any pregnant mothers, we will bless them, giving them the cross to face childbirth. Saturday, the 29th of March, we are in Teramo. Sunday, the 30th of March, we are in Naples for the 4th Sunday of Lent, and then Saturday, the 5th of April in Bari. Naturally, there are the appointments in Lamezia, Terme, and Catania that will be communicated in the coming days. As we prepare, well, this is a bit of an overall general plan. Remember to support the project because it is always in great need. I remember those who have done so and continue to do so in such a discreet and reserved manner. Pass the description with the IBAN, the postal current account, PayPal, and the way you can help the project survive in this, moreover, confused, agitated situation. Let's move on to today's episode. Very important. Now the production is presenting the title, Today's Window. Here it is. It's Brother Celestino's turn. Condemned. It's Brother Celestino's turn. Condemned. As it seems, let's get specific. The machine is ready. The regime does not stop, despite Bergoglio, they say, having been between life and death for about a month. But even if, apparently, he is recovering, despite therefore a situation in which, as often happens, one should have mercy, show clemency, leave everything in suspense to see how things turn out. No. The diabolical power machine that has been installed in the Vatican through its regime exponents, its hierarchs scattered in the dioceses. Yes, I'm talking about the miserable bishops who are only pitiful. The machine of power that condemns, that guillotines, that crucifies, that kills the true witnesses of the apostolic faith. Because we, until proven otherwise, indeed no one wants to meet us, we are witnesses of the apostolic faith. This is the point. I refer this to Bishop Giamanco, who also takes on a burning ember before the Eternal Father. Worse than Lorfus of Palermo with me and the bishops of Don Ramon and Don Enrico. I say worse because Brother Celestino is the one you all know. It takes courage to condemn someone like Brother Celestino. But this is the Church of Satan that must persecute, written like this. It is established by God. Do you remember the prophecies of Catherine Emmerich? Are all prophecies like those, for example, even the sensational one of St. Louis by any chance? Maria Grignon de Montfort, when she speaks of the apostles of the last times who are persecuted by the Church of Satan. It is written, nothing can be done. They reduce themselves, they drop the mask, you understand? The Church of Mercy, the church that buries the gospel, and that despises the apostolic tradition, the Church of Pope Francis of the Todos, for whom all doors are open, kicks priests who remain faithful to the apostolic tradition. And of course, not like the ignoramuses, the Donabondios scattered throughout Italy in the Venetian hills, with their blue chapels, which indeed no one touches. That is useless. I'm talking about the priests who put themselves out there, who step onto the field, who help people to reflect, who meet with the unfaithful, who organize moments of prayer, who go on social media and shout, proclaim, and do not stop telling the whole world that Bergoglio is not the Pope, that he is heretical and apostate. Against these, the Church of Mercy, the Church of Forgiveness, the Jubilee Church, the Church of Todos, does nothing but show its own face. Diabolic, demonic. 𝐤'𝐵𝐼𝐭 is a servant of Satan. Look, some people are surprised that I use these words here, but it's a concrete word. I mean, a barefoot Franciscan friar is being persecuted, who lives in evangelical poverty, and for that he will go straight to heaven. Only because he defends the apostolic faith, which is what this unfortunate bishop and those who sign should be defending. These infamous documents, and instead, between Celestino just because he defends the Catholic faith, the one of all time, because there is a difference between change and betrayal. Dear Bishop Guglielmo, understood? 𝐥'𝐵𝐼𝐭? There is a difference between change, because, obviously, we also saw it yesterday with the interview with Bob Balthasar. Do you remember? It was very appreciated, that one. Sometimes I am surprised because certain episodes I do which seem to me not to have particular success. Instead, many times they have received great. The catechesis response yesterday morning of Santa Cafe, with the interview with Vittorio Messori, forbidden interview. Because then, incredibly, the Italian bishops decided to make it disappear from von Balthasar, who, he said, and that's why they made it disappear. Because he said that we need to return to the model, even, he said, traditional Tridentine, but with updating. One thing, then, is that the Church updates itself, that the Church necessarily engages in dialogue with the contemporary world. Another thing is to betray the gospel, dear Bishop William. Another thing is to go beyond the deposit of faith, as your idolized Pope Francis does. Have pity. Your prayers do not even reach the roof of your bishops. You are worshippers of Satan. You are playing the devil's part by persecuting Brother Celestino and the priests of the fellowship. This rather awkward silence in the realm of social media, among pseudo-Catholic networks, and across a range of Catholic news outlets, has provoked extensive discussion about the crisis. In the Church, the creeping heresy here and there, which instead about Brother Celestino today and the others they have remained silent and continue to remain silent, is a symptom of collaborationism to pay. There's a price to pay. When it was decided not to talk about the priests of the sodality, about the priestly Maria who are putting themselves out there, and yes, they want to divide them, and yes, the devil wants to destroy them, and yes, he is trying in every way to set them on a collision course, because once the sodality is taken down, Bergoglio has won, Satan has triumphed, and the Madonna, poor thing, is left searching for help, seeking help. And when I say poor thing, I say it like a son calls his own mom and sees that she is suffering, and it comes naturally to say, poor mom of mine, poor thing, how you suffer. I tell her, I'm here, don't worry, I'll help you. I'll help you even on my own, understood? If you tell me, I'll take up the banner like Joan of Arc and go to St. Peter's Square. Just let me know. Tell me what I must do, Heavenly Mother. I cannot bear to see you suffer. I cannot bear to see everyone abandoning you and everyone abandoning the gospel, everyone leaving the apostolic tradition, all going madly after a false apostate and heretical church, as I said in an interview that will soon be published post-apostolic. If von Balthasar were here, he'd say, look, Don Minutella, you can't call a church post-apostolic. A post-apostolic church doesn't exist, yet it is. What does the Jubilee do? Do they pray the rosary there? Why do they pray? For the health of Pope Francis. Who is Pope Francis? Jorge Maria Bergoglio, who is not the Pope. What do they pray the rosary for? It's all a charade that began, for instance, when on the 8th of December, I don't remember which year, they projected onto the steps of St. Peter's the images of the zoo, with the monkeys and the snakes, instead of the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. Can you believe it? It is a continuous show, and we pay the debt. We serious priests, we apostles of Christ, apostles of Mary, witnesses of the apostolic faith. Please, call us that. Call Brother Celestino, martyr of the apostolic faith. That is Brother Celestino, as is Father Ramon and as is Father Enrico, martyrs of the apostolic faith. There is nothing more to say. We are being persecuted. In the general silence, silence must be made. And in the meantime, Father Domitella, he is the battering ram, and so everyone piles on. Why does Father Rupnik get away with it? Did you hear? I think if you follow the news, you would know that 𝐤𝐸NI have covered this affair. Profoundly shady, incredibly murky, and utterly despicable. Because since Father Rupnik is from our neck of the woods, a friend of Bergoglio, he's getting away with it, whereas Dominutella has the whole world against him. And the bishops don't notice, the other social networks don't notice. We are a sect, we've made ourselves one. Excuse me, but if we're a sect, why is everyone against us? Pope Francis doesn't speak to everyone, why not us? We're friends. Enrico is him, heretic, we are here. If anything, the Unacum are spared. Those unfortunate ones who can't wait, they count the hours for them. And they get it in the neck, in my opinion, apparently, because Bergoglio returns to Santa Marta and commands even more. Who is it? Take this, maybe a couple of those cardinals who were there in St. Peter's Square, perhaps for the rosary, will die before him, because goodbye, life in hand, is goodbye. But let's return to Brother Celestino. So now let's go into the specifics of the 𝐸𝐾𝐽. I mean, it reached the Secretariat. Just think about it, from Radio Domina Nostra. This is to say, how Brother Celestino does not have a mobile phone. He does not use personal communication devices. Sometimes he borrows them from us to make a phone call, etc. Well then, the Diocese of Patti, he lived in a convent, Brother Celestino, from which he was thrown out. This bishop was capable of presenting himself. Look at the moral stature of this man. Look at the moral stature of this wretch. He turns up there, these bishops who should be in our place. To defend the apostolic faith, he turns up to Brother Celestino. Do you know what he brought him? He brought him the document written by the spouses from the former Maria Center there. I remember the place, in which it was stated, all false, published by Marco Tossati, who moreover did not allow me to make a reply. That I make money, that I am a thief, that I deceive people. You understand? Because the problem is to demonize. Dominutella. Obviously, if the Bishop of Patti demonizes Dominutella, there is no time to talk about Pope Francis, who is heretical. You must not talk about it. The Bishop Giambanco knows very well, as do all his unfortunate colleagues of the false Bergoglian Church, that it is necessary to demonize Dominutella. Focus on that and stop at that. That is because if instead there is room to ask the unfortunate bishop for forgiveness, but this Pope Francis can do it, he doesn't know what the heck to answer. His face turns red, it becomes as cyclamen as the cap he wears on his head. The bishop always appears at Petineo Convent. Think about Marco Tossati's article, written by, I think, that priest there, Don Ariel, I don't remember well, hosted there, published by the couple that was there. And so that is the document to present to Brother Celestino. Understood? There is no time to discuss the heretical follies, the blasphemies, the apostate acts committed by the so-called Pope Francis. It must not be talked about. Everyone pray for Pope Francis. No one notices that he is a heretic and apostate, who has worked in these 12 years like no one else in the history of the Church, to destroy Roman Catholicism, with the complicity of the world's powerful forces, and with the breath of Satan's fury. On to the document. I'll read it, then we'll discuss. Guglielmo Giambanco, Bishop of Patti, ready number 3/25/AS. Now have fun, because truly one day these documents, I have no doubt about that, I have no doubt will be used to defame these apostates. Bishops, it's like when St. Athanasius, in the 4th century, had to defend the authentic Christian faith from Arian incursions and was left somewhat alone. The Pope somewhat protected him, Giuseppe, but then he was nevertheless condemned by various councils and synods. There was support for Arius from the imperial power, and those who dared to defend St. Athanasius, bishops, friends, bishops, were all condemned. Something is happening. Today there are two whom I will mention. I will mention Eusebius of Vercelli, the holy archbishop. And if they then became saints, Saint Eusebius of Vercelli and another one from Cagliari, whose name should not concern you. The name was Lucifer, but Lucifer, the name that means light bearer, Then thank God he's gone. However, in the past this was also used. Two holy bishops, one from Cagliari and one from Vercelli, who, when St. Athanasius was condemned, as he was the one proclaiming the truth, decided not to sign the document with the approval of the imperial power. And so they were exiled, they were taken, just like what is happening today, they were taken from their dioceses, from their churches, and sent to the edges of the empire. Then Eusebius, if I remember correctly, was able to return. Anyway, they paid for their friendship with Athanasius, who was the demon to be persecuted, you see, and it was necessary. As I recounted in my book, I'm sorry that so many of you haven't read it. The title is The Lion of Alexandria, and I invite you to read it. Those who might have any doubts about the apostolic work of Don Manutella, who defends the Catholic faith, should read this novel. Here it is with me, written a historical novel about the life of St. Athanasius, which is an incredible life. And where at a certain point so that there should be no discussion as is happening today. Topics that crucified the heretics. He was accused of everything, of having impregnated a woman. There was no DNA test, and everyone believed this thing about a lustful, lascivious Athanasius, only to see that the woman, before dying, repents and says it wasn't true. Nothing, that she had been paid for that. He was said to have stolen a chalice to make money. Then it emerged that the Arians hid it. What is worse, it was even said that he had killed a bishop. Atanasio was made out to be a murderer. You understand? Then they found the bishop was still alive. He had to hide. Read this book. Anyone who's read it knows what I mean. It is a tale that reveals our times, and those who were few, tied to St. Athanasius, because they had understood the diabolical conspiracy that the Arian church was carrying out at that moment, if it hadn't been. For Athanasius, the church was becoming entirely Arian, yet they remained friends and paid personally, as is happening with the priests of the Marian Apostolic Tradition Fellowship, true martyrs. Because there is a red martyrdom, which is when they shoot you. They guillotine you, blood flows, yet there's a white martyrdom, equally agonizing, that we fellowship priests endure. On Sunday, a truly weighty report was broadcast live to millions. Regarding this Father Rupnik, the Jesuit priest and mosaic artist who has filled the entire world with mosaics. It seems to be Masonic-inspired, and it's no surprise I had noticed it beforehand. And then it turns out that this one here was a truly diabolical serial demon. I don't want to get involved. We're at the level of truly diabolical rites. He remained unpunished, like Monsignor Gianchetta. The pedophile bishop remained unpunished, for whom there was even a death involved. The cardinal remained unpunished up to a certain point. If it weren't for Vigano, Cardinal Mecheric, Bergoglio protected the false church. These men stripped us of our habit. And you persecute us. To Fra Celestino, this condemns him. It is the church that protects Rupnik and condemns Fra Celestino. But aren't you ashamed, those of you listening to me, who are not part of the small remnant? Why not change the channel? You are not worthy of listening to my voice. You who go to Mass in union with Pope Francis will pay more than the Bergoglians, you'll see. You will see what awaits you regarding the martyrdom and sacrifice of us who hope it helps you to convert. This church that you consider, as the Father says, to be the Church of Jesus Christ, is the church that condemns Brother Celestino and absolves Father Rupnik. So much so that it must be the hyenas to take care of those poor women who had to. But let's get back to us. Let's read this blessed document that people say, Father, but read us the document. I'll read it in full, then we discuss. Given the penal order issued on the 2nd of December 2022, its time is running in view, the document. Let's read it together. Ready number 1137/2022 is notified on the 3rd of December 2022. With which Reverend Father Celestino Pietro Follador, born on the 4th of February 1962 in Valdobbiadene, Treviso, was ordered not to declare in publicly, or in a public place or open to the public, or through any means of communication, that the Pope is heretical, and ought to refrain from stirring up hatred against the Apostolic See, and from inciting disobedience towards the Roman Pontiff, warning him that, indeed, should he fail in his duty, he might ultimately be subject to suspension. From all acts of power, of order, and of governance, canon 1333, 112, not excluding the possible initiation of a legitimate procedure for dismissal from the clerical state, given the penal decree issued on the 2nd of March, 2023, ready number 7, /2023/AS, and notified on the same date to the person concerned, where he was inflicted with the penalty of suspension from all acts of power, order, and governance, warning him to observe the penalty imposed to avoid incurring the penalty provided for by the canon. 1371, paragraph 1. Given the contumacy of Reverend Priest Pietro Follador, alias Celestino, considering the correspondence between the ordinary and the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith, in which, with a confidential letter protocol number 917-2022-102201 of the 23rd of December, 2024, the DDF suggested proceeding via extrajudicial means, and I don't know why it no longer appears. In the meantime, the text that was scrolling indicated the possibility of imposing a perpetual penalty, non-excluding the dismissal from the clerical state, issuing a specific mandate for this purpose. Compare Article 19, Paragraph 2, etc. According to the law, I establish, the premises are all really like a burlesque. So far, that is, among Celestine he is indicated as we will see, the one who casts hatred towards the apostolic seat. But these people no longer have the conscience to write these things, look. And it is an appeal I make to the priests, of whom there are some who are there, always ready to take a step, unless they are then reached by other of our antagonists. It is a truly borderline situation, dear children. Let's see what the defender of the faith establishes. The defender of the apostolic tradition, the very worried bishop of Patti in the face of a danger like Brother Celestino. I establish first the institution of the administrative penal process to proceed against the Reverend Father Pietro Follador, Brother Celestino, on charges of violating the penal precept. Schism, Canon 751. Secondly, the summoning of the same Reverend Priest Pietro Follador, French according to the canon. First, to inform him of the accusations and evidence for the 27th of March 2025 at 10 o'clock at the headquarters of the Diocesan Ecclesiastical Tribunal of Patti, at the Diocesan Curia of Patti, Cathedral Street No. 7, in Patti, Messina. Third, the appointment of the delegate in the person of Reverend Priest Antonino Leone. Here, wood, it makes you think of the wood in your heads. You no longer have consciences. You have pieces of wood with which you crucify the priests who remain faithful to the apostolic tradition. Given in Agira, Enna on the 19th of December 1959, the appointment of the notary. The trial is all set. Just like in the times of the Soviets, we are ready to be executed. Everything is organized now. We are ready for the execution. The appointment of the notary, in the person of Reverend Father Carmelo Papa, the surnames, I recommend them all to you. Born in Sant'Agata di Militello on the 16th of November 1974, 5th. The establishment of the lawyer, defense attorney of the accused, in the person of Reverend Father Giuseppe Licciardi, born in Campo Felice di Rocella, Palermo, on the 14th of July 1975, who will remain in his office until the accused communicates his intention to appoint a lawyer of his choice. But what should they talk about? But in this possible trial, Fra Celestino, what should he tell you, you wretches, who have been following for 12 years? A false apostate and heretical pope who has destroyed the gospel and built a false doctrine with the blessing of sinners. You should feel pity. You have worms instead of a conscience. You are already rosy time from the mice now, against your remorse towards Brother Celestino. Sixth, the summoning unpaired in place of the attorney procurator. Seventh, the appointment of the counselors in the same case, the Reverend Priest Filadelfio Alberto Araci, born in Dolo on the 25th of June, 87. The Reverend Father Francesco Pisciotta, born in San Salvatore di Fitalia, Messina on the 30th of May, 1946. Patti, 8th of March. 8 March 2025. This is indeed the document. The document now undeniably enters history solely because it is fake. Because it brings forward allegations and serious accusations and crimes against Fra Celestino, which are entirely unfounded. What are the two charges? The two charges are, truly it's incredible to have to say, and indeed it's astonishing. Look, it's quite difficult to peruse these documents. They are so absurd and utterly devoid of any authentic content. In the meantime, I wanted to tell you that, to his shame, the bishop, like every bishop, even the one from Patti, has an episcopal motto. Do you know what his is in Latin? 𝐕 𝐻𝐻𝐸𝐺𝐚. Rejuvenate with the strength of the gospel. You are pitiful, bishop, you are pitiful, bishop of Patti. Rejuvenate with the strength of the gospel, and with this strength you accuse and condemn a friar who is defending the gospel against your Pope Francis, and he must not be touched. The two accusations that leave a bit of a bad taste in their mouths, but that clearly show who we are dealing with, are therefore the assertion that the Pope is heretical. This is false. One must not call the Pope a heretic, for it's clear that Bergoglio is indeed heretical. But this church has decided to self-protect. They do not know what awaits you. Trying to make a shack. The Catholic Church has become a rotten, decayed shack, because one must not say that the Pope is heretical. And so, since Brother Celestino says it, he deserves condemnation, and that he incites hatred against the Apostolic See. So today, shouting the truth and saying that Bergoglio is not the Pope, that Benedict XVI did not resign, that the Sangallo Mafia worked to bring Bergoglio to the throne of Peter, is spreading hatred. Today, when the truth is spoken, it brings hate. See what levels of existence our society has now reached. And then above all, the unforgivable thing is to inciting disobedience against the Pope. Apart from the fact that Brother Celestino has never incited disobedience, what he merely does, like all of us, is to say that Bergoglio is not the Pope, but on this, they do not want to intervene. Here is the infamous document, with which I would finally like to express an opinion on this aspect. Here, Brother Celestino will also soon be reached by the sentence, because as you have heard him, on the next 27th of March, he will have to appear in the diocese with his lawyer, who has been appointed to him. Why is it not well understood? Because if then he tries to say, documents in hand, that Amoris Laetitia and supplicant trust surpass apostolic tradition, and that a pope cannot be required to do this, they wouldn't let him speak. Well, I'll mention two things about Brother Celestino. He's not here today as he's lecturing seminarians. It is better this way. So I will tell you two things about Brother Celestino. The first is that he will not compromise. You have wasted paper, you who are for the praise cider, your beloved idolized Pope Francis, uselessly. Brother Celestino won't appear. He told me why he isn't coming, which I wish you all to know. Fra Celestino will not appear at the diocesan tribunal of Patti, for the simple reason, he told me, that he has no time to waste. What? There is little time left to become a saint, because he is over 60 years old now. You know how he is safe and protected, because he always talks about death. So Brother Celestino has no time to waste. This is his statement made to me yesterday, when I personally had to notify him of this decision by the bishop, who wants to rejuvenate with the gospel, as he says in his episcopal motto. So Brother Celestino will not appear just as I did not, and neither did Brothers Don Enrico and Don Ramon. He will not appear before the ecclesiastical tribunal because it is all just a setup, a useless farce. And Brother Celestino said, I have no time to waste. Then I would also like to reassure all of you. I know there are many of you who love Brother Celestino for his testimony of evangelical transparency. All right, I wanted to assure all of you that he is well. He has taken this sentence very lightly. Certainly it does not hurt. But this morning, as I did, he celebrated Mass. I also celebrated Mass. In short, we continue along the path that the Madonna traces for us, knowing that this false church has nothing else to do but waste time truly showing itself. And so finally we reach the conclusions. Slowly reactions differ. The first conclusion: we are in an anomalous situation, a situation in which the leadership of Roman Catholicism is in the hands of a false pope. Therefore, since he is false, he cannot wield the code of canon law. Neither he nor those who, like hierarchs, in the manner of a true regime, do so to persecute the priests who have the courage to come forward. And so it is an entirely anomalous situation from a legal point of view, because as St. Thomas Aquinas says in the Summa Theologia, "Es communicatus non potest excommunicare." I repeat, excommunicated cannot excommunicate. At the moment when Bishop 𝐥'𝐿𝐵𝐼𝐴NCO celebrate in union with Pope Francis, you belong to a schismatic church that is not the Catholic Church. Therefore, dear Bishop of Patti, you have no authority. Min. To excommunicate Brother Celestino and reduce him to the lay state. You have no authority, not even moral, because you are pathetic for following a pope who is not a pope and who goes beyond the gospel, pretending not to notice. You don't even have it from the perspective of juridical power, because the code of canon law is what regulates the life of the Catholic Church. The schismatic Church of Satan of Bergoglio. And you, Bishop of Patti, like all these hierarchs who are around Italy and the world, persecuting the priests of the sodality, you belong to the Church of Satan. You will see that then it will be told to you by the angels at the gates of heaven, "Go ahead and mock me, persecute us." You will hear it from the Eternal Father, who is already shouting it in your conscience. You are not of the Catholic Church. The bishops who have persecuted us and have taken away our habit, from Pope Francis to Lorefus, to the Bishop of San Severo, to the Bishop of Livorno, you are not of the Catholic Church. It's pointless that you then go to make devout pins with hands joined, like Giuseppe does in the chapel of the Episcopate. It serves no purpose. You are members, hierarchs, you are bishops of the Church of Satan. Take this. You really know, it's true. Anyone who is in communion with the so-called Pope Francis and celebrates the sacraments, particularly the Mass in union with the so-called Pope Francis, is outside the Catholic Church, is schismatic. The Bishop 𝐥'𝐵𝐼𝐴NCO is right. Brother Celestino does not want to waste time. He is wasting time. Because first, he does not have the moral authority to do it, in the sense that he, following Pope Francis, follows another gospel. And this is obvious now. It is completely evident in front of everyone's eyes that Bergoglio has rewritten the gospel, going beyond. So much so that his travel companion, one from the Bottega dei Noantri, the Superior General Jesus, is forced to say when asked, "But in the gospel it is written that Jesus says that adultery is a spouse with another woman who is not his wife." And he is forced to respond, "There was no recorder." Do you understand the levels these people are at? You are outside the Church, Catholic Church. And since you have known that Dominatella and the brothers openly defend alone, because then there are the priests in the hills, in the chapels, those unreachable to anyone who does not write, who also say that they are ashamed of the Pope, but they do not expose themselves. We expose ourselves, and you come against us, but you do not even have the power. Therefore, if you are not in the Catholic Church, you are schismatic and you belong to another church, which moreover, as I maintain, is that of Satan. All this stuff is useless. You have wasted time, and you enjoy wasting time. With us. Why? Why not? Legal authority, the juridical authority, derives from belonging to the Catholic Church, because the Code of Canon Law regulates the life of Catholic faithful, not that of Bergoglian faithful. So all this stuff is useless stuff. This was the first conclusion. The second is rather interesting. I believe that this intervention by Brother Celestino, as you know many times, has advocated, awaited, and sought, is arriving now. I would like to tell you something, Azzardo. An hypothesis. It's an hypothesis. It's my hypothesis. Do you want to bet that before the 27th of March, when they will have to decide? Because in my opinion, I feel in my heart that the Eternal Father gets angry if they touch Brother Celestino. I feel this, you need to know why. Because when there is a man who lives in poverty, like Brother Celestino does, the Eternal Father, in quotes, goes mad and protects him. Particularly, all right? I won't add more. Anyone with spiritual experience knows what I mean. Blessed are those men who live the gospel, as Brother Celestino does, on foot, barefoot, with two habits, and a cloak always fragrant and clean in front of the unfortunate who say they have written the opposite in the world. Chatter. Brother Celestino has never had a bad smell. He has never been, how do you say, unkempt in his beard, in his hair. He has never been shabby. Understood? I have encountered diocesan priests, parish priests who have had a bad smell because they do not wash. But I have always found, because I live next to him, I have always smelled the fragrance of soap, of cleanliness next to Brother Celestino, who, however, lives barefoot without sandals because he follows the rule. Franciscan, that of its founder. So Bishop John Banco, you will have to deal with St. Francis because you are touching a holy son. You are touching a holy son of St. Francis. Is it a threat? Yes, it is a threat. You deserve it. Spiritual, naturally, because only St. Francis can intervene. We cannot do anything. However, what I wanted to say, and this as a second conclusion, I believe that by the 27th of March, the date on which the trial will take place, something big will happen in the church, as they call it. I feel like saying that. I hope I'm wrong. But let's see. Today is the 11th of March. On the 27th of March, they will meet. What is the 27th of March? What day is it? Let's see right away. Calendar March the 27th is a Thursday. In Thursday they will meet. All right, at terms. I don't know if the Eternal Father will not be. I am no one. I am not the lieutenant of God. I am just a poor servant. Useless. A small apostle of Mary. But I say what I feel. Let's wait to see what happens from now until the 27th of March. Because I have always felt that if the announcement of Brother Celestino's condemnation arrived, a few more trumpets from the apocalypse would sound. All right? Here, kindly make a note of it, and remember that this is our third significant consideration. All this is providential, also due to those new theories emerging from the undergrowth of the world of Cianci and Faret, of Father Benu and others who are not Bergoglio, and they are not essentially even a 𝐵, but then in the end they end up finding themselves in a situation that is becoming ridiculous. I have made appeals to Dr. Cianci. He thinks I do it to provoke him, and so I won't do it anymore. However, for example, he was shown that he stopped some Swiss guards. He sees conspiracies and unusual situations everywhere. Then, when they write to him that it is not so and prove it to him, he gets offended, acts resentful, because he should acknowledge that he was wrong. Instead, he makes no effort. If you followed, I'm not sure he still has the video on the Swiss guards. Astonishingly nothing. His claim is verifiable. I have shown it in the comments, but he acts offended. So these ones, what are they doing? They are expecting a pope, mind you, who should then resolve the anomalous situation in Roman Catholicism with an inquiry about a false pope, because for them that is still the Catholic Church. Now, isn't that just more evidence? It is impossible for the Catholic Church to be reduced to a secular state, like Brother Celestino. I invite you all, since he's absent and may not hear this, so please don't mention what I'm about to say, all right? Even if thousands listen. I foresee what I'm about to tell you. Brother Celestino is not taking off his habit, eh? Fra Celestino will not remove the habit, and this could create quite a few problems. Fra Celestino won't shed his habit. But don't you think this can't be the Catholic Church if he removes the habit from a friar who has done nothing wrong except tell the truth, and protects a rapist of women who made them have sex, 2 or 3 in bed? In short, those things I repeat. Is this the Catholic Church? Dr. Cianci and Father Faret, is this the Catholic Church that persecutes the righteous and the saints? This is the Church of Satan. This is the devil who has taken form in Rome and who has his, how do you call them? His Lucifer of Fatima, partisans of Satan. So stay away from these people, understood? Third remark on the margins of this infamous document, which is only ridiculous. Because I repeat, there is no authority that the Bishop of Patti can exercise, since it belongs, not the Roman Catholic Apostolic Church, the one founded by Jesus Christ, but the schismatic Church of Satan, which is led by the false Pope Francis. I would like to say, at 3½, it is not that this is an appeal addressed to the priests, this now imminent condemnation of Brother Celestino. I mean, how much longer will you remain holed up in the rectories if you have discovered the truth? How much longer will you feign ignorance? How much longer will you wait for people to come to you? Exactly so, in perfect evangelical style. Jesus didn't say, go, proclaim the gospel. I send you out as sheep among wolves. No. Come into the chapels, bring us the offering, and we carry on like this so no one bothers us. We settle, how shall I say, we appease our conscience, because after all, we do not celebrate in an hour with Pope Francis and the priests of the sodality. Forget about it. There is Domina Nostra, who wants to command, is Gothic, arrogant, narcissistic, possessed. There you have it. This is an appeal to priests who still have a pang of conscience, but it is also an appeal to the priests who have recently come at us from Father Bellone and Father Serafino Tognetti, who have dared to insult me, one saying that I am a heretic, that I have created my own church, and the other even writing that I am possessed, only to then see that as a perfect disciple. Neither of them has yet responded to my appeals. Truly, I congratulate you. This is fraternity. It is truly evangelical love. Yes, truly, evangelical love. So to these people I say, you see that we are right, because if we were of the devil would not persecute us like this. Or am I wrong? Am I wrong? In fact, you are not being persecuted. You remain calmly with your clothes while Brother Celestino has to take his off. You have your titles that no one can take away from you. Because did you have the cowardice to feel that Bergoglio is not the Pope? And you pretend nothing is happening. And so the devil leaves you in peace. You should fear nothing worse, as the devil has decided to leave you in peace. You deserve this. May the devil leave you. While the devil is flaying us, live with a Brother Celestino that we will now see. I foresee that, I presume. Let's see if I can convince or make a statement so that you can all listen to it and realize. To what level has the situation reached? Last concession, I link back to the first thing I mentioned, and which in my opinion, from here to the 27th of March, I don't know. But I link back to this in conclusion. The Church has always needed martyrdom, sacrifice, intimidation. What more would you like from us priests of the sodality? It is an appeal I make to social networks that claim to be Catholic and ignore our struggle, that have decided not to speak about us. What else do you need to trust our good faith? When there is a friar who was born barefoot, lives barefoot, and must remove his habit by order of Pope Francis, shouldn't this lead you to say, wait a moment, perhaps we are heading in the wrong direction. Perhaps we have made a mistake. Perhaps truly these are sent by God. Perhaps they too, like us, have a role to play. We can no longer pretend. No, you will continue to remain silent. You will continue not to speak about us. You will continue to pretend that we do not exist. But God says the message of Blessed Catherine Emmerich had other plans. Well, my dear ones, let's pray all together today. Now there's room for phone calls. You can call for this or for something else. Let's take it together today. For Brother Celestino, we dedicate rosaries. For him, the solidarity has obviously arrived, the support of the priests of the sodality, who wanted indeed in the chat we have in common, to express to him, perhaps he doesn't know yet, because he hasn't had the time to tell him, closeness and solidarity. The first to intervene was Father Enrico, let's see, maybe Father Ramon, I don't remember well. I'll tell you right away. No, the first was Don Enrico, and then Don Pavel intervened, who is writing a much-anticipated process by Brother Celestino, Deo Gratias, and also Don Ramon. This morning, as soon as he received the news, he wrote, Grande Fra Celestino. Hello? Praised be Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, I remind you this evening at 9 o'clock, the catechesis on the YouTube channel of Radio Domina Nostra. Don't miss this episode. The 9th part of the prologue, because while the bishops of Bergoglio's schismatic church waste time writing infamous documents, we meditate on the true, only gospel of Jesus Christ. Yes, hello? Hi? Hello? I have given it to you, Jesus Christ. Yes, I am traveling, so I hope not to. Now I'm stopping with my husband. And anyway, I wanted to say that the more they persecute you, the more we cling to your peaks. Here, at this very moment, as it unfolds, behold, I read a thought by Monsignor Fulton Sheen, which practically spoke about the meek man and practically fit her perfectly. Because he said the man you aspire to. It is not the one who never gets angry, who never says something in shorthand and does not offend, but the one who, in order to defend a principle, even raises his voice, not to defend his own ideas, but for a principle. I said this is Domino's, also because what should I have defended of my own? What is mine I have lost, Even my honor they have made me lose the fame, the reputation. I have nothing of my own. Here, I would say that I took pity and set in motion what was due to God to take flight for this mission. But however, certainly leaving me very attached. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you, dear daughter. It would be nice if you could show solidarity at the first public occasion we have next Thursday. Because while these people waste time following the devil, we pray, for example, for the consecration of Russia. Next Thursday I await you in Bergamo. You from the north come. Brother Celestino is the only priest from northern Italy. He is Venetian. As you know, come Venetians, come and express solidarity with your fellow countrymen. For Celestino deserves it, that you are all there to support him. Because even if he is repellent in these matters, he is still a poor man. It doesn't hurt him to feel everyone's solidarity. Pronto? Yes, I'm speaking. What is it? Ariana Maria, you baffled me when you said, hello, it's me. Yes, it's just to smile a little given the situation. Because in any case, the situation, even if we know it is not true, still causes pain. Tell me then. I wanted to ask the ambiguous character, Elon Musk. Yes, the chapter of Elon Musk also has a strange name. Elon, from Elon Musk, is now seen wearing a mask. Yes. What Elon, I saw that it means divinity. Yes. However, I understand that it is not possible. Yes, no, but God bless you, but it's not that it is not possible. I don't really know. I don't have my task, as you know. My primary task is not to intervene in the scenarios that are unfolding around the world. Because, as we have said many times, the geopolitical chessboard has practically changed suddenly. It suddenly changed. Then on Sunday, we held a catechesis. On the segment, The Father Responds, there was much discussion about artificial intelligence. I was also talking with my brother. I'm not very knowledgeable. He told me no, because he knows a bit about it. You said, interesting things indeed regarding Elon Musk. I withhold judgment, because I do not know him. I know nothing about him. I know that he is an extraordinary intelligence. This, without a doubt, he is. Thank you. He is one of the richest men on the planet. Let's take the facts. He is a person with great intelligence. For this reason, he has become an extremely wealthy and powerful man. Because he has money and power and stands beside in an unusual way, I would say, because he doesn't really hold a specific role, at least as far as I know, beside Trump. But as they always say, time will tell. So we suspend judgment and wait and see. Thus far, the choices of the Trump administration move in the direction of some things we have defended, namely freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and faith. Here in Europe, if a politician dares to put a cross on their forehead, much like the Secretary of the Casa Banco did, they end up being persecuted. And so, from this point of view, there are interesting things to say. However, indeed, let's suspend judgment and we shall see. In the meantime, let's focus instead on what's happening. Why Brother Celestino, on the 27th of March, will be condemned and reduced to the lay state without having done anything wrong. Writing that spreads hatred is the most diabolical thing one can write. That is the devil who has meddled. That document is tampered with. It is not signed by the bishop. It is tampered with by the devil when it claims that Brother Celestino spreads hatred. One can never say of a person like Brother Celestino that he spreads hatred. Anything but that.